657 campaigns ago, we started Crowdfunding Countdown, and we are here with the 50th episode on the channel with 1,000 more to go. Oh God, what have I just signed up for? We've been tantalizing your taste buds for exactly 1 year, so let me start to phone it in. We're here with another episode. He doesn't care. And it's approximately 657 because some of the campaigns are bundled like we are going to see today. But there we go. 1 year of Crowdfunding Countdown. We started on July 12th, 2021, and we are here on July 11th. 658 Garfield cartoons later, and I have told approximately 3 jokes that have ever gotten a laugh. I feel pretty good about those numbers. This is absolutely my most time-consuming video series on the channel, but I hope to have brought forward a ton of informed opinions and uninformed nonsense, and let's get into the week. But before we do that, of course, we have to thank our patrons for the week. And because it's the 50th episode, I'm not going to thank the patrons. I'm doing something different. I have special guest, Pablo, here to thank the patrons. Hey, Pablo, take it away.
Everybody. Hey there, wise guys.
Yeah, well, thank you for being here. It's great.
Don't thank me. I'm here to talk about my new project.
Oh, yeah, no, you just have to...
Yeah, what do you say?
You just have to say thank you to them for supporting the channel. Yeah.
Nah, that doesn't make any sense.
That's very rude.
Yo, you're very rude, you stupid idiot. All right, I'm here to talk to you about Pablo's Pickles. Yeah, and I got a specific shout out to do. One to Yuval.
I realize this might
you shut your mouth there, wise guy. One to Yuval, one to Randy,
I asked Pablo to
one to Stacy. They're the ones who have supported the inaugural thing of Pablo's Pickles, and you're my first 3 patrons. And I want to say thank you.
Watch out, Pablo! There's a can of red pepper jelly behind you.
Give me back my brothers and sisters.
Pepper. Hey, don't say I never did anything for you, except, bring you to life.
What do you say there?
No, moving on. Thanks to all of my patrons. Seriously, you all rock. You really do. And I do literally this series for you, because of you, and that's why I haven't stopped. If you do end up watching the channel regularly, and you appreciate the time that it takes to put into these videos, hey, throw me a couple bucks on Patreon. You can cancel any time, but you're not going to want to when you discover our fun, cool Discord. You will want to. People do. For just 6 cents a day, you can sponsor a child in need. That's me. So let's take a look at everything that is over on GameFound and Kickstarter right now. Backerkit, I'm sorry, but you're still out in the cold. All they got over there are some goblin dice, which were severely outshone by these passport travel books. See, with those you're gonna have your passport and notebook disguised as an antique book. Yeah, a book with no pages. What sort of disguise is that? You're not fooling anybody, book. I know now that books do have pages, and I know now that people could read back then, contrary to what my mother told me to make me feel better about myself. So that's Backerkit. I mean, Kickstarter does have this game, which is called Battle for Glory, which is definitely not just trying to pretend it's the game For Glory that was on Kickstarter just a couple of months ago. But let's get into the actual games, the meat of the episode, why you're all here. And first up we have Joey Games, which is by a new publishing company out of Australia, publishing 3 new games by Phil Walker Harding, who is the designer of Sushi Go Party, Sushi Go in My Belly, Cause It's Delicious, all of those famous games. And so there are 3 new games coming out of that publishing company. First one called Busy Beaks. They're all fairly lightweight. They're of that similar Sushi Go class, but are certainly not as delicious. And so Busy Beaks is a card game. It's basically like Gin Rummy. You're gonna be collecting different sets of birds. You're gonna have 14 different sets of birds, and you're going to choose 7 of them and shuffle them together, and that'll make your sort of deck. And then you will attempt to play sets of birds so you can get points for them, or instead you can play a bird to the tree and take its special ability. So you're going to be switching birds in and out, very similar to playing a card and picking up a card and rearranging things and getting the sets in your hand the most efficiently as possible. That'll scratch that Gin Rummy itch for sure. And the interesting part about playing a board to the tree is that yes, you're using its ability, but it also opens up the board for your opponent to take it and put it into a set. So you're going to have the pros and cons of playing that ability versus giving your opponent a potential set of points. Next in that trio, there's a game called Pass the Party Food, which, it looks bad. It looks like the bad one out of the 3. Well, it doesn't look bad, it just looks a little bit more basic than what I would want it to be. It's cooperative, you're gonna draw 3 tiles from a bag, they're gonna all be party food, and you're gonna give 1 each to your neighbors and keep 1 for yourself, and your goal is to complete meals so that everybody gets to the birthday cake on time, which is a really good life goal. You know, just really make sure everybody gets that birthday cake on time, and don't let Brenda from accounting take it all before Kathy from HR has a chance to get to the break room. If that were the theming of the game, I think I could relate to it a lot more, being a middle-aged woman working in an office building. That's my inner spirit. Is it? Probably. But yeah, that's the point, is seeing what do people need to collect, how much is left over, and getting everybody to the birthday cake, which my ex-friend and now mortal enemy Josh wouldn't be very good at doing, because he seems to never want to attend specific people's birthdays because he's too tired. But that's okay, Josh. I forgive you. It just seems like that's it. There's not going to be that much more strategic decisions to be made, or I'm not as interested in that one. So that one's, I'm not quite interested. But the next one is kind of interesting. It's called the Scribbly Gum Tree, which is a drawing game about the Scribbly Gum Tree in Australia. Which is, yeah, definitely a real thing and isn't completely made up. It's as real as a koala bear. It's as real as Australia. Yeah, that's a real place. Okay. Anyway, this mythical land, you have a flip and write game where you'll flip a card and it'll tell you a direction or sort of directional that you can make, and you can go across a dotted line or a straight line or whatever it is, or to a blue dot. And your goal is to collect, again, sets of 3. And the more sets of 3 that you get, the more you win the game. The more you win the game, you win the game. But the possibilities for going in different directions and planning out your routes, I think if you like something like On Tour, this feels of that ilk to me. The one that I'm the most interested in out of this would be Busy Beaks, and then Scribbly Gum Tree. Yeah, okay. And then last, Pass the Party Food, except don't pass it to Brenda. So it's $24 to $32 Canadian for, that's the range for all 3. It's $24 for Scribbly Gum, $32 for the Busy Beaks. It's $80 Canadian for a bundle deal. And it's $13 shipping to the US for all 3, which is a pretty good shipping price for something like this. Canada, it's horrible. It's $44 Canadian, so don't do that. But if you are interested, that finishes tomorrow, Tuesday the 12th at 9 p.m. Next up, we have Globetrotting, and this is by the designers of Canvas, and you can also pick up a copy of the deluxe Canvas here if you're interested as well. And the main pitch here with the Globetrotting game is, this is basically their video. They're saying, hey, you don't really leave the house anyway, do ya? You're not gonna travel the world. I know you have dreams to travel the world. I know you've always wanted to go on that dream vacation around the world, but you're not gonna. So spend your money on globetrotting instead. Here you get to draw hard-to-erase lines on a globe-shaped whiteboard. Whose dream isn't that? I've always known that I've been too much of a dreamer, inspired by a true story. But it's nice to have a game that really lets me manage my expectations for my hopes in my life. So the goal of the game is to get the most points. You've proven that you've had the best vacation, better than anyone. And so you do that by completing these travel goals, and you'll travel over spring, summer, and fall. Must be nice to take a 3-season vacation. And you'll travel to these different places on the globe. And you'll do that by choosing one of the 3 cards that have turned up and going to that place. And in order to go to that place, you'll spin your globe around, and then you'll draw a line, a straight line on the bottom, and it'll cost that much, the length of the line. Basically, there's indicators on how long the line is and how much it will cost you to get a plane ticket to there. In addition to that, you can also get points by meeting other players in the same city. If you're playing with 2 players, there are like automated players that you can choose, little festival tokens basically. And so you get points for meeting other people in the same city because, hey, who doesn't want to get together with other 3-season vacationers like the opulent, rich, wealthy that you are? I don't even think I could take a 3-season vacation if I won the lottery, like if money wasn't an issue. I guess you're traveling around the globe, there's lots to see. Of course I could do it. Please send me the winning lottery ticket. I will not reject that offer. Anyway, you get points for your goals, points for meeting up with people, you get points if you spent less money than other people, which is a point value that I can get behind on. And it is cute that the globe itself, all the destinations that you can travel to, they are all the names of places that are also the names of board games, like Santorini, Jaipur, Alhambra, all of these games that use a location as their place. Those are the destinations that you can travel to. And I think that's cute, but it also makes me think, why am I not just playing Santorini right now? It's $53 US for retail, $68 for the limited edition, which gives you like 6 additional public goals to achieve and 10 additional variable player powers, which, it's just to that point, it's like the Prelude expansion. It's like, that should be in the retail game. It feels like it was deliberately excluded in order to create that sense of scarcity and encourage you to purchase it right now, which, hey, maybe it was. For me, it's not enough to go up to that next tier, and so then the calculation for me, will this be available at retail then? And where it will be likely cheaper if you can get it on a sale. Something like that. It's not enough of a deluxification to kind of warrant the consideration at this Kickstarter price point. But if you are getting Canvas and you really want to get Canvas and you want to get the deluxe Canvas, because again, look, Canvas I think is in retail now. Maybe it doesn't have that wide a release. Maybe you jump on board this. I don't know. Those are my thoughts. The first time I've ever said these thoughts, and certainly have never said them before in the video that happened yesterday. Shipping's okay to the US though, $15 shipping to the US, $25 to Canada. After conversion, this game is like $120, which is just absurd. Something that I would pay and like be excited to play at $40. But if you are interested, that finishes Wednesday the 13th at 12:59 a.m., aka Tuesday night. Next up, we have a game called Cheese Factory, and this bills itself as an entry-level engine builder. And the reason why they say it's an engine builder is because on your turn you can choose cards to take into your hand. Those cost extra actions than if you just took a blind card, for example. Or you can spend your actions, you have 3 actions every turn. You can spend these actions on getting machines, and the machines allow you to do different things and do things more effectively. You're gonna have to build the machines in order to then get more cheese. And the goal of the game is to get to 20 cheese points, which I thankfully am happy to always get to in one of these videos. Because all my jokes, because they're cheesy. You got it. They're cheesy. No. I mean, it feels a bit underwhelming to me mechanically, and the player abilities, especially the one time per game, they feel pretty underwhelming. But the price point is fantastic. It's $25 US, $32 Canadian. If you were in the market for a engine builder for kids, maybe this is one to look out for. I don't quite like that there's a bit of take that to this engine building aspect. I think a lot of people won't like that because you can blow up people's machines and start fires on them. And that, to me, I think just is to slow the game down and make it longer rather than it actually being an interesting push and pull. But I don't know. Hey, it's a good price point. $5 shipping, $10 shipping to Canada. I just don't think it would be that interesting a game. For me personally. It could work for kids though. Anyway, check that out. That's July 14th at 1:30 p.m. Next up, we have the Omicron Protocol. Actually, it's an expansion, a tiny little expansion with 2 people. So it's not a reprint. For sure not a reprint. It's an expansion, a very necessary one, so that you can get more and more content for your Omicron Protocol. And this is not about COVID. This was made before COVID. They're in the clear. It's not like they're trying to capitalize off the suffering of millions for the name recognition. Probably don't want that sort of name recognition anyway. And I looked at this at Origins because they had a booth at Origins. I took a look at their new game that will be coming out later, which looks good and looks more likely to hit my personal preferences than Omicron Protocol. But Omicron Protocol seemed cool, and the most interesting part about it for me is the zombie faction. It's a skirmish game, it's 1 versus 1, unless you purchase expansions that give you 2 more factions, but it's going to be 1v1. That's going to probably be how you want to play it. And then there's this zombie faction in there, which is always present on the board, and it's like movable terrain. You want to push your opponents towards the zombies so that the zombies attack them, and they always move towards the closest people. And so it's another thing to navigate in the skirmish combat, and I like it because you are also going to use your action pool to activate only a few people. They can activate everybody, but it would probably be more effective to spend all your actions on one person, and so that might mean you're making sacrifices and leaving the other people to just get hit by zombies. Or do you deal with those and you try to push them towards your opponent? I like a skirmish game that has these additional elements to it, and this little AI system that's in there feels cool. It's like you're fighting in a live arena, which I think is a nice twist to the skirmish game genre. I'm sure there's skirmish games out there that do it. It is a small publisher though, so it's pretty expensive. $90 US for the base game, which gives you 2 factions, $145 US, which gets you the 4 factions, and obviously the more interesting factions are in the expansion factions. Well, because it's the animal faction. You just get to be a bunch of animals tearing everything up. And then, sorry, you do get the 2 extra characters in that $145 US price point, and that can switch it up. They can go in different factions because your team is comprised of like 6 people basically. Even the base game after conversion and shipping, which is $20 to $25, it's like $150. And that's way too much for me for a 1 versus 1 skirmish game. Maybe that's because I'm not much of a skirmish guy. The team seems to be very passionate about this project and they're really pushing for it. But I just think that price point's too high. And that's going to alienate a lot of people. But if you are interested, check it out. That's July 14th at 11 p.m. Now next up we have Giant City. And Giant City, this is a game that I should probably cut from the Crowdfunding Countdown because it looks okay. You play 2 giants, Monty and Montezuma's Revenge, and you'll play the game in 2 phases. You'll start by placing tiles everywhere on the map, face down. You'll have your own tiles and some neutral tiles. And then you will then take turns playing cards to move the giants who will smash tiles and destroy the city. And the first person to get 10 points wins. And so the premise is that the giants' moods are different. And so you can manipulate their moods if they're close to your tiles. But then, of course, you also have to remember your own city tiles. So it's kind of a really big memory game and then slight hand manipulation. And I like games that reward memory. I think that's the fun part about Survive, Escape from Atlantis. This feels of the similar weight, but not as good. And I think because the strategy is clearly, okay, well, put your neutral tiles closest to where the giants start, and then keep your personal tiles and move them far away from the board. Because there's no downside to not doing that. I don't think, unless it's super easy to get to the edge of the board, you know that your opponent's tiles are there. I don't think it will be, though. Or I think it will be, but I think it's going to be as easy to hit the things that are right next to you, because the giants get points if they destroy a neutral building, they get 1 point, or if they destroy your building, they get 3 points. So obviously you keep yours as far away as possible, and then that memory element just kind of doesn't matter. And then why do you even have to take part in the first part of the game to begin with? Unless that's the bluff. So there's something here, there's a kernel of interest here. I might be bringing it up because of that. I might be bringing it up so that I can say that I wish it was a giant big bird destroying the city instead, or that Monty was a big bird, because then I could say that destruction is what Monty's plumage portends, which it's been so long since I said Montezuma's Revenge that doesn't even connect anymore. Oh, what a waste. Or they can't be dancing over the map because Montezuma's pretend. I'm also covering it because the price tag is fine. It's 19 euros, 25 bucks Canadian. But even as I say that, I remember that the affordable games deathmatch was really just around the corner, and every game on that deathmatch is likely better than this one. So just imagine the games that I did cut that didn't make it in this week. Anyway, if you are interested in that one, check it out. It's Friday at 2 p.m. Moving along to one that breaks a couple of my rules. It doesn't have a rule book on the main page, and it also isn't funding. And I'm also not just going to tell a joke about it, or if I am, it's likely not funny. That's a fairly decent bet to make, though. On a joke, you flip a coin, funny or not funny. Well, you flip 10 coins or 1. I don't know. There's some sort of analogy there. But it's close to funding, and I think this is a decent price point, and there are some potentially interesting things here. It's 25 bucks US, 32 bucks Canadian. I wouldn't be touching it if it didn't have this price point. I still think it's probably in the okay realm, but I still wanted to talk about it. If you looked at it, the art is eye-catching. It's called Channel 1. I don't think I mentioned that yet. And the goal of the game is to be the best news reporter ever and basically get head anchor position. And they say it's semi-co-op. It's not. There's only one winner, so that's not semi-co-op. That's one winner, where there's also a configuration where everyone could be a loser. I don't think that's semi-co-op. Anyway, the premise of the game is you're going to draft cards from these various rows. You're going to put them in your hand, and then you're going to add these cards to various stories. And you're going to investigate these stories and flesh out these stories. And you want to close these stories before your competitors can jump in on them as well. Because if they jump in on them, then they get the points too. And that's also where the semi-co-op part comes in, because people can get the same points at the same time. And if you don't give enough investigative power to certain stories, then the network will lose ratings. And if the network bombs, then your job is useless because everybody's fired anyway. That's the losing condition for everyone. I think there's enough here to make it interesting. I also think that in this type of game, I would just make everyone lose. I just would do whatever I wanted, and I wouldn't pay attention to the thing that would make us all not lose. And I'd say to other people, well, you better do it or I'm not gonna. And nobody would do it, and we would all lose every time because nobody would budge, because the obvious best scenario is that you get the other person to waste their actions. Anyway, it's a good price and it has $9 shipping. It might make this worth a $34 gamble. It's not the worst gamble to make. I don't think I would, but I wanted to bring it up in case anybody was interested. And if you are interested, that finishes Monday, July 18th at 12:59 a.m., aka Sunday night. Now, next up, we have a game called Stonewall Uprising, whose tagline is a fast-playing, two-player historical board game portraying the struggle for gay civil rights from the 1960s to the 1980s. This is based off of the Stonewall riots, which were protests in response to police raids. Police kept on raiding gay bars, and they raided Stonewall one night. And they're like, you can't do this. And finally, everyone there said enough is enough, and they basically rioted. And that was a huge movement in the gay rights movement. And so this is a two-player game where one of you gets to play those fighting for gay rights, and the other person gets to play the man. Like, why? Why is this the goal of the game? That sure, you get this game that tells the story of the fight for gay civil rights, and it's an important story to learn about. In that game, why do I have to be the one player who plays the man, who gets to play cards like hate groups that very clearly have Klansmen on them, and not the fun Dave Chappelle kind or John David Washington kind? I don't want to do that. I mean, I guess you'll finally have a game that your Uncle Terry can really get involved in, but I don't want that either. I mean, I get it. It's trying to be the next Watergate. But still. They do fix this problem. They do say that there is a solo deck if you feel uncomfortable with playing the man, which I certainly do. That there is a solo automation so you can fight against the man. And I think that's great that one player doesn't have to play as the man. But then it becomes a solo game, which may or may not appeal to you. And again, I just don't think it would appeal to me when the man's far-reaching systemic oppression just crushes you into oblivion and reminds you that no, you couldn't get the gay rights movement off the ground. Now, there are no gay rights, and it's your fault. I hope you enjoyed your relaxing evening playing a board game. I mean, I hate myself as much as the next person, but that is the one type of masochism that I am decidedly not into. Make sure you don't move too far up on the AIDS track, because it's the 70s, and of course there's an AIDS track. I mean, side note related to their videos, people are saying, is being straight a choice? I wish being gay was a choice, because that is absolutely what I would choose in a heartbeat. It is the obvious choice. Yes. My fashion sense would improve. I mean, I see no downsides other than the constant harassment and hate speech and persecution. But other than that, no downsides whatsoever. I would finally be allowed to say that Jimbo is not a very nice drag queen. I don't know if anybody says that anymore. I'm sure people do. I feel privileged that I don't know those people. And to those people, I mean, I guess I just haven't tried hard enough, right? To be fair, I have not spent a night with Michael Vartan, and guaranteed that would do it for me. But also, I feel that's a man who supersedes sexuality, right? Yes, my alias is Jennifer Garner, and you can spy on me anytime. Oh, Michael Vartan is just, I think, the most handsome man alive. Although Victor Garber may give him a run for his money. Why, yes, my alias is Sydney Bristow, and you can be my daddy. Okay, enough of that. I'm getting flashbacks of Michael Vartan. There was a girl who I was desperately in love with, and she was dating someone who looked like Michael Vartan, and I was like, well, that's game over. There's no chance. They broke up, but she's married now. What can you do? Anyway, let's talk about the actual gameplay, because theme aside, there is a game here. And the main crux of the game is that each player has their own dedicated market of cards, and this market will not shift in between games. It is set up beforehand in a very specific order that will happen every time, and everybody can get cards from the market. And basically, you can play cards for their action on your turn, or you can save those cards and use them to purchase additional cards from the market. So like a deck building game. And the crux of the game is these 3 tracks that you're going to be basically playing tug of war in. You're going to play a card to modify the track, and you're trying to push it to the end, and when you get to the end, you then get to trigger an event, and it is an event specific for your faction, and it will give you good things and the opposite side horrible things. And my initial impressions aside, and issues with the theme, looking into it, I thought, you know what, this could actually be a pretty fun game. And honestly, I am warming to the theme. I think I could feel okay. I know I joked a lot about the rights, whatever, but it's a game. Don't take it so seriously, right? Like, you just play your role, the role that you're dealt. You are the evil side of things, very clearly. That should be not debatable. And playing those cards and manipulating that track, it feels removed enough for me that I wouldn't get too involved in the theme, but it also feels thematic enough for me that it can heighten the game. It is a bit too expensive for me personally. It's $60 US, $78 Canadian, but this does actually include shipping in its cost. So only to the US and Canada, but it makes it considerable. I'm not going to get it. I think it still is too much for me, that price point. But worth checking out if those 2-player head-to-head card games interest you. That finishes Monday at 8:10 a.m. Now, next up, we have a game called Flick Fleet Xeno Wars. And this is by a company called Eurodice Games.
Eurodice Games. Boom, roasted.
See, I make them say it, because then I can react all disappointed like I'm not the one voicing them. And this is a campaign for a new expansion for the Flick Fleet Space Battle Dexterity system. And this is the game that I want the Star Wars X-Wing miniature game to be. Legitimately, this looks great. You flick your ship on a big open table, and then you flick your dice at the opponent. And the dice is a different dice depending on what ship you have. You have like a D6 or a D10, and depending on what it rolls on them as you hit them, that is the type of damage it deals or where it hits on the ship. And as long as the dice doesn't go off of the playing area, then the shot connects. But if you flick it too far, then it won't, because it's going to roll over the fleet, because the ships are very flat, they're like wood, whatever, and then the dice can just roll on top of them. I'm really into it. The rulebooks are at the top of the campaign page, right for everybody to see what you've been missing out on. They've printed various fan-made expansions and put them into a whole box of Flick Fleet box number 2 and additional expansions and additional units. And this expansion just gives you 2 new races to play with different ships and different abilities. And like the X-Wing miniatures game, at the beginning of the game, you will choose an amount of points, and then you will build your fleet out of those points. And so bigger ships can do more damage, but they cost more points, and they're also potentially easier to hit on the board. And so with the new expansion, you can play up to 4 players. I honestly think this is a 2-player game. I don't think you'd want to play it with more players, but I don't know. It might also be fun to just flick stuff at each other. Feels like it would play quickly. The additional factions charm me, as I'm sure they do all of you FOMO chasers out there. And if you have access to a 3D printer or a laser cutter, you can get the print and play files for very cheap as well. For everything, well, the expansion and the base, it's $70 Canadian, 45 pounds. The base game is just 27 pounds, $42 Canadian. And if you're in the UK, it's really good shipping, 4 pounds. 10 pounds, 12 US dollars to the EU, and then 17 pounds to get it to Canada. We're looking at like 65, 68. I know it's too much, but I really like the concept. I wouldn't play it that much. Everything is too much for me. Like, just as a blanket statement, everything is too much. I don't think I need to keep saying it, because everything is too much. But it may not be for you, and that's fantastic. I think this looks like a really fun little game that you could pull out, and if you like dexterity games, this is absolutely worth checking out. This was a really nice surprise. So that one also finishes Monday, July 18th at 9 a.m. Moving along, we have a lot of games that finish next Monday and Tuesday, and one of those games is Drop Bears. And finally, I'm happy to see a game based off of real events. Joey Games, if that's a real company, could learn a thing or two from the actual retelling of Drop Bears. This isn't Vegemite or Tim Tams. Drop Bears are real and do exist. And so the goal of the game, it's a cooperative game. You're going to try to survive the Aussie bush. Well, it doesn't matter if as many people as you're playing with die, as long as one more than the people that you're playing with don't die. Which thematically, if, all of you are dead, then who is trying to survive the Aussie bush? I don't know. Some random stranger that you have no attachment to, but it doesn't matter. You can win the game with that random stranger. What matters is that you're able to survive the Aussie bush from dusk till dawn, like the Salma Hayek movie, and also avoid the drop bears, who will make surviving the night significantly more difficult. They're just perched up there in the trees, just hungry for human flesh. Kind of like my ex-wife. No, we're not using that joke again. But yeah, it legitimately isn't enough to just survive the drop bears. You also have to survive the wilderness, and so the goal of the game is going to be to collect enough survival points while avoiding these drop bears. And the drop bears, they react depending on the time of night that it is. They'll do different things, and they'll be harder to take out. And your turns are basically about exploring the wilderness, flipping over new tiles, seeing what's out there, and moving on them. I do like that there's a bit of a heart rate mechanic, so depending on the actions that you do and whatever you use, your heart rate gets faster and faster. If you panic, then you can't do actions. I think I like a panic mechanism once in a while. Panic at the drop bears. But then the expedition action, which is how you get your survival points, that feels a lot less exciting to me. There's basically going to be a number, and if you roll higher than the number, well, you get some points. So it seems light, seems on the lighter end. I think the 30 to 40 minutes is probably an accurate time frame, and if you're in the mood for a lighter cooperative game, this might fit the bill. It's just the expedition actions that kind of turn me off. And I know that there are other things you can have and things that can mitigate that probably, but I don't know. Just seems uninspired. Or maybe the inspiring part will be to stop the drop bears from dropping right on you and just nibbling your nose. Oh, it's fine. It's just giving a little nibble. Oh my God, Martha! So it's $55 US, $71 Canadian. 18 to 23-ish for shipping, so after conversion it works out to be around $103 for me. What a surprise. This is also an interesting campaign. Somebody asked me in the live stream that happened yesterday, or they submitted that as a question of what are my red flags when looking at a Kickstarter. And I left this one out when talking about it. When all the quotes, or most of the quotes from reviewers, aren't about specific things, that often is a red flag for me. You'll see people talking about, wow, the theme was so immersive, and they aren't talking about what necessarily happened. I feel like there might be a little bit of that on this campaign page, and so that's like a slight red flag for me that, yeah, you want to make a compelling review. You want to say something to finish the review off. When that feels like you're searching for something to say, I get it. Because you want to finish it off, right? You want to have a concluding statement that isn't too overly harsh and is positive. That's something that I look for as well. And I feel like this could have it. There are some that talk about mechanics specifically and what games that this is kind of related to, but that also makes me take a step back, and especially for the price, I'm not quite interested when I thought I might be interested in this one. Anyway, if you are interested, that finishes July 18th, Monday at 11:12 a.m. Is it 11? Is it 12? Maybe it's both. Next up, we have Dice Throne, Santa versus Krampus. And honestly, this is a matchup that makes me want to get into Dice Throne. It really does. And that's obviously because of Krampus, which is the best Christmas movie of all time. Yeah, you heard it here first. Better than Die Hard. It's great. It's bad, but it's great. Plus, they have the tagline, Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good fight. Dice Throne. You're doing great things here. I mean, it's Dice Throne. They have a good track record. It's Battle Yahtzee with cards and abilities that you can upgrade. That's all you need to know. If that sounds interesting to you, check this out. However, and you know it's coming, I don't think you should check this one out, because this one is going to cost you $35 US for 2 characters plus shipping, when it's normally $25 at a store regularly, a pack of 2. And right now you can get the Barbarian and Moon Elf character pack of 2 for $18 at your local store. Not at your local store, at Miniature Market. That's on sale from $25, but still, it's worth pointing out. I don't think that this is a good purchase unless you are fully invested in the additional Dice Throne Adventure promo packs that they're offering, or you have Dice Throne Adventures. I just don't think it's going to be a good purchase. I think this will be out around Christmas, and I think I will go get it if it's in stores. Legitimately, this is the Dice Throne pack of 2 that I want to get because I want Krampus. I do. I want Krampus, and I'll pay whatever it takes to get Krampus. I just don't want to pay it now because I think I can get it for cheaper later, and maybe I can't, but that's a risk that I'm willing to take. Shipping on this is good. $8 to $12, maybe it's bad, and maybe they're padding the price and making that a little bit more so that they don't have to charge you more in shipping. 50-50, that could be a real thing, right? If it was $25 and then shipping was $18, maybe less people would take it. We were talking about this on the Discord too. I don't think the projected savings of $15 MSRP on a single pack of 2 when they're normally $25 is a fair and real assessment. It's just, oh, the promos, oof, they'd be expensive. Yeah, well, maybe you likely don't need them. Anyway, if you are interested, this does finish next Monday, July 18th at 6 p.m. And I get it. Krampus. It's Krampus. What can you say? Wickedest, baddest boy of them all. Anyway, next up we have Bedeville Carnival. And this is clearly just another push for GameFound to outshine Kickstarter. Because this was on GameFound, finished between May 3rd and 10th. I know it's in that episode because I looked it up on my Crowdfunding Countdown master list. If you're looking for any campaign in the last year, I will have something dumb to say about it. And that can always be found in the list that I've updated. And I've updated it to include the links as well, so you can easily jump back to that episode if you're looking for something specific. And one, just a refresher on what that was. So it raised €24,000 on GameFound. It's actually raised €17,000 over on Kickstarter, which, I mean, good on you for relaunching. If that helped you double your support, great job. I'm not sure why they couldn't just late pledge and continue to unlock stuff in the late pledging process, but maybe it doesn't work that way. The gameplay to this one is very basic. I'm not quite interested in it. You move to a spot, you get some colored skulls, and you make some noise, and Carl, the cemetery keeper, is going to be like, why are you making so much noise in this undead theme park? Get out of here! And he'll chase you down. And, well, oh, that's weird. This is the moment where I expected Carl, the cemetery keeper, to kind of pop up. He's got like a cool cat or something. I wish I knew his last name. It's just Carl for now. I thought I saw something. Anyway.
Don't you make such a loud noise around me. I'm going to shit my cat.
I wasn't even that loud. Should be talking to my cat. That's not biased at all. Also, reason why I can't get it is that there is a Pablo imposter in the mix, and I know a certain Pepper would be very upset if I were to have another Pablo in my collection. This one's €49, $65 Canadian plus the shipping. It seems like a almost fine game. It's too much for my tastes. And a little too basic for my tastes as well. But if you are interested, I mean, the art's kind of cool. Get acrylic standees. It's not a real reason to get a game, is it? But if you are interested, check it out. The finish is next Tuesday at 3 p.m. And finally, our last one of the week, we have Summit, or the expansion to Summit, the final expansion. It's the Sanity expansion for Summit, and it's definitely just for this Sanity expansion, and not because they sold out all of their stock when Trey Parker said it was his favorite game of all time on the Dice Tower. No, that's not the reason. It's because they had this Sanity expansion that they wanted to put out. That's the reason. To be fair, I do really like their Why Back Now section of their campaign. Why Back Now? Existence. It won't be made if you do not support it right now. Okay, that's pretty legit. If there is no market, it will not be created. I just love how upfront they are about the reasons to back. They're like, yeah, we make more money. Do it. It's like, yeah, okay. I kind of want to. I expected this to do a lot better than it actually is, although it still has a week, but it's only raised $100,000. I was honestly thinking I'd have to prepare a 5 reasons you shouldn't back on this, because I guess I over-evaluated the sway of Trey Parker or the amount that they had sold, or I just talked to them at Origins as well, and they did tell me that their entire stock was like gone, which is awesome, and I'm sure prompted some of this reprint status. Now you can play this game solo, cooperatively, on a team, against a Yeti. There's a bunch of different options. Cooperative is generally the consensus way to do it. You're going to decide what gear you're going to bring up the mountain. You're going to try to climb the mountain. You're going to all have these little tiles in your hand. You're going to play the tiles on the board so that it gives you different routes to scale and hope that you don't run into an impasse and stop being able to climb the mountain. And you want to reach the top and get down to the bottom without everyone dying. If one person makes it, oof, what a successful adventure. It doesn't matter that 4 of you took off together and only 1 came back and is now traumatized for the rest of their life, thinking, oh, what more could I have done if only I had given you that can of Vegemite. No, it doesn't matter. So you're going to play these tiles from your hand. You're also going to always deal with these random events or these random weather patterns that happen from 2 dice that you roll. The basic game itself, it looks okay. I didn't end up trying it at Origins. I wanted to swing by and get a demo of it, but I ran out of time. And also, my compatriots who were there tried it, and they were very underwhelmed. And I thought, well, they seem quite underwhelmed. More underwhelmed than they usually are. So I didn't make it a priority to go back and try out. I wish I had, though, because then that would have saved me time now. But past Chris is an idiot. But that doesn't differ too much from present Chris or future Chris. So what can we do? The expansion, however, if you are a fan of Summit, looks like really cool. I think $25 US for the expansion seems like a good price point. The expansion, you will have these rings on your brain. They're like focus rings, and every time you lose focus, you got to go down a red track, and every time you gain focus, you go up a blue track. And depending on what you land on, that is the thing that you lose or gain. And so it's this another little side game that you get to manipulate in a way that feels interesting to me, or more interesting than some side games that I have played recently. Burn Circle. So that feels like a good price, a decent price for the expansion. If you like Summit, I see no reason why you shouldn't get that. They also have a $99 big box, and I thought, wow, that might be pretty good for all the expansions. They do have 4 of them, and then that's none of those expansions. It's just Sanity and a bunch of garbage that you don't need. So that was a bit disappointing. The all-in price is $185 US or 240 Canadian if you want to get the actual game and all the expansions with it. And at the big box, I was like, oh, yeah, I guess it's got 4 expansions in it. That feels like potentially a good price for the... I was going to praise it. It's a good price for the all-in. Then it doubled, and I thought, no, I can't do that anymore. And this is one of those games where my interest in it is solely because it is somebody's number 1. And I realize that people have different tastes, and it's not necessarily a good idea to just get something because of that. But if you are interested, check it out. That finishes next Tuesday at 7 p.m. And that's it. We're finished. That's the end of the week. I expected there to be more frivolity in this week, but I honestly ran out of time, and I can't keep talking to off-screen characters because that takes more time to edit. Doesn't it, dear?
Oh, yes, sweetie. At least I'm worth it.
Yeah, you are worth it.
Oh, you
I mean that. I'm quite happy that you're here. I'm not happy that you are here, Megan Bacon, and I wish you didn't exist. Why do I do these things? Anyway, each week I have a pick for me and a pick for you. The pick for me being the thing that I'm the most interested in, and the pick for you being the thing that I think you should get so that you spend your money on it and I don't, and then I can come over and play it. It's also the thing that I think has the most mass appeal, or that I would recommend people get if they wanted to buy something this week and this was their selection. Again, whenever I make these sort of picks for me and you, remember that it is this sample size. And so if the sample size was underwhelming, well, then the pick for me and you might be underwhelming, and it might not actually be the best thing. But usually I'm pretty good about saying if there's no pick for me and no pick for you. There is a pick for me, though. That is definitely Fleet Ships. I think that's the name. Flick Fleet. Yes, I love it so much, I remember every detail. It really does look fun. It looks like just a smart dexterity system, taking that battle war game point amassing build your army format, putting it into these little ships, making the distinctions between them actually significant with the different type of dice and where you flick it even. You have to flick it from a certain spot or else you don't get a second date. But also, that was a joke that I cut in the first one, and it reared its ugly head back. You have to flick each unit in a specific spot because that's how they are propelled across the galaxy. So I think that's cool, and it's a decent price point, I think, for what you get. Probably not. Like, it's probably not as good quality as I'm envisioning, but the wooden sort of pieces, that appeals to me as a dexterity game. And then my pick for you this week is, it's Flick Fleet. It's nothing. It's nothing. Again, there's nothing here that has jumped out at me enough to warrant the extra cost in shipping and the total price point package. And so it's nothing. Sorry. I wish it was something. I wish it was something amazing for the 50th episode. You know what it is? It's a jar of Pablo's pickles.
Delicious.
It's Megan Bacon's female sandwiches. It's Slippery Jim's oil of lusciousness. No, I don't wish that on anyone. Please leave the stage. Thank you very much. It's a hug from Maggie. It's a punch in the nose from Shady Jim.
You mean Big Ben?
From Big Ben Jim.
Whoa.
It's some time to spend with Carl. What's your last name, Carl? From Carl Beeson, the cemetery keeper. Any of these things are the pick for you. Or really, that's the pick for me, and then the pick for you is Flick Fleets. Yeah, we can flip it if you want. I'm fine. Thank you so much for being here. As always, let me know what you are excited about moving forward. There will be some exciting games coming up very soon, launching next week. I think Tuesday there's a bunch of things launching on the 19th that are interesting to me. Silver Coin, Burn Cycle, and Moonrakers. Those are the three that I'm thinking of right now. But I won't get to them until their cycle elapses. But I just appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Let me know what you're excited for. If you are backing anything, if I've got it dead wrong about some of these things, Dice Throne and Summit, I shouldn't wait. I should get it right now. All that sort of stuff. It helps me, and it also helps anyone else reading the comments. Once again, my name's Chris George, or for the first time, my name's Chris George, because I didn't say it. And I also don't have a catchphrase. So, on behalf of all of us here at Room and Board, since they're still on the screen, well, we should have couldn't have said it better than that.